Rumcasters, and welcome back to the final episode of 2020 for the Rumcast this year. This is John.
We made it.
Yes, we're through it. Will, how's it going, and how's everything down on your end at the end of the year?
It's great. We're recording this the Saturday before Christmas. I think if all goes according to plan, people will be listening to this the week after Christmas. So we really wanted to kind of like put a bow on on 2020, which feels odd to say. But yeah, just kind of a look back at the year, our year in rum, so to speak. Yeah. I think you kind of threw out the idea a couple months back of doing some sort of year in review episode and just talk about, put together some categories, not exactly like an awards show or anything like that, but just sort of like some of our personal favorite rums that we got to experience in 2020. So I've really been looking forward to this. We've both we came up with some categories in advance, and we both kind of independently went to work on preparing our responses to them, but I don't know what your answers are going to be, and you don't know what mine are going to be, so I think it's going to be really fun.
Yeah, I'm really excited to do this too. I think by most people's standards, it's been a pretty crap year overall.
Yeah.
But I will say this, getting to do this podcast with you, Will, has been a great thing this year, and it's really helped to keep me sane throughout 2020. And I hope maybe we've been able to help keep some other people who love rum sane too by doing this.
It's actually, you bringing that up, it makes me think of there are podcasts that I listen to that when
bring you comfort.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a comfort listen. It's like a consistent thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, if there's just one person out there that feels that way about this podcast, that would be awesome. So
yeah.
But yeah, no, it's been the same for me. Just having kind of an outlet and someone to talk about rum with, and be able to, part of the whole goal of the podcast was not just us talking about rum, but bring people who are actively influencing the rum world, making the rums that we love to drink in some way, bringing those people on here and getting, more of their knowledge, more of their stories out there into the world. And there's a lot more we have planned and in the works, but we definitely had some great interviews and conversations this year. So it's been a fun year in that respect.
Yeah, and in addition to the rum categories that we wanted to talk about, we also put some categories in there talking about some of our favorite moments on the podcast this year. And,
that's right.
And I think that will be good to talk through.
A few moments that happened before the recording started.
Yeah. I think that's going to be fun and special to talk about. Before we get started with that, though, Will, I have cooked up a special treat for us to kick off this episode with.
Special treat.
Yes. We always tend to put the rapid fire rounds, or we always do put the rapid fire rounds at the end of our episodes for good reason, I think. But I think it's high time that we put one up front and get us started on the right foot here coming into 2021. So
we're turning the episode on its head. We're throwing some curveballs, keeping everyone on their toes.
Yes.
I love it.
So what I did was I just put a bunch of the best of together and created this, I guess we'd call it a supercut rapid fire round for us to listen to here.
I love a supercut. So just to clarify, if this is your first time listening to the Rumcast, what John is talking about is at the end of every interview, we put the guests through a, slightly silly but fun segment in which John prepares some off-the-wall rapid-fire questions, some that are rum-related, some that are not, and they have, they're just trying to get through as many as possible in 1 minute. So This is as John said, the ultimate, the supercut compilation Rumcast Rapid Fire. I haven't heard this yet, so I knew you were working on it, but I have not heard it, so I'm very excited.
All right, here we go. Here it is.
All right, I've got a minute on the clock, and go.
All right, neat or on the rocks?
Neat.
Rocks.
On the rock.
Neat.
Column, pot, or blend?
Blend, come on.
Oh, come on, dude. Pot.
Well, that's a tough one. I'd say blend.
Pot.
all of the above, but I'll have to pick columns that's Grander's in.
Favorite rum mixed drink?
Mai Tai, hands down.
Rum sour.
Pina colada.
Daiquiri.
Your personal favorite Exceptional Cast Series release?
The next one.
Good answer. All right, Star Wars original trilogy, prequels, or new trilogy?
Rogue One.
Okay, I like it. Nintendo, Xbox, or PlayStation?
Dude, I'm old school, man. Nintendo.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's right.
Marvel or DC?
DC.
Okay, woo.
I know.
Right.
I'm gonna be in trouble.
MIT, Cambridge, or Harvard, who has the best on-campus pub?
Oh, Cambridge.
Indiana Jones or Lara Croft?
Oh, that's a good one. Indiana Jones.
All right, who's the best college football team in Florida?
University of Florida Gators.
Nope, I'm sorry, that was wrong. It should be University of Miami.
I'm
Next.
pretty sure that is incorrect from your end.
Well, I hate to spoil it, but Alabama's better than both of them, so.
What place or country makes the best rum in the world?
I'm not going to answer that.
Are you resentful that Gosling's Rum used a seal as their mascot before you ever had a chance to?
No.
Okay, be honest. How often do you get Katy Perry's fan mail? Holmes Key or Katie Holmes?
Oh, that's tough.
There is a U.S. video game company called Electronic Arts that has a famous catchphrase for sports games, and it goes like this: EA Sports, it's in the game. How would you all feel about using EA Sheer? It's in the blend. Have you considered Florida Rum Society branded underwear yet?
No, but I like that idea.
Would you rather catch a Grander Marlin or sell 1,000 bottles of Grander Rum?
So 1,000 bottles of Grander Rum.
All right. Generally, people drink coffee in the morning and rum in the evening. At what hour of the day does one stop drinking coffee and start drinking rum?
I'd say 10 a.m.
You grew up on the West Coast and now you're on the East Coast. Is it East Coast or West Coast?
East Coast.
All right.
No hesitation.
At the risk of stretching the metaphor a bit too far, since you're the minister of rum, do you view yourself more as the John the Baptist of rum, the Billy Graham of rum, or the Martin Luther of rum?
Probably Martin Luther. I'm more honest.
That's perfect.
The internet says it's illegal in Australia to force a kangaroo to drink more than 6 beers. In your experience, would you have to force a kangaroo to drink Binley, or would they do it willingly?
Oh, absolutely. You do it willingly.
Is there any truth to the rumor that there exists an inner circle rum that's even more difficult to get than inner circle rum is?
It's who you know. It's not worse than that.
All right. Favorite Disney song to belt out in public?
The Little Mermaid one.
Under the Sea?
Yes.
No, not Under
No.
the Sea. Look at this stuff, isn't it neat?
There we go. Yes. Is there anyone out there who, in your mind, is totally not worthy of drinking Worthy Park?
Pass.
A wise decision. Is the 4-digit code to unlock your phone the numbers 1021?
It's not, but it should be.
I feel like that's a huge missed opportunity there.
It's a huge miss on the brand. Huge miss on the brand.
All right. A rum brand comes to you and says they want to create a brand called Trader Joe's Cocoa Rules Coconut Rum. Are you in or are you out?
Ugh, you're killing me.
True or false? The HMS before the names of the Admiral Rodney releases actually stands for Holy Moly Stromboli.
Yes, true.
If someone overheard a person incorrectly saying that Grander had additives, are we allowed to call that Grander slander?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Amy Poehler calls you and asks you if you would be down for a collaboration called Worthy Parks and Recreation. Are you in or out?
Fuck yeah, I'm in, dude.
Oh,
there you
my
have
God.
it.
It's amazing. I'd heard all of those before, but they some of them it's like experiencing for the first time again. And I don't know if everyone knows this, but you put all the energy into that segment. You prep the questions in advance, and I usually see them maybe like a couple of hours before we record, and there's always a moment, there's always at least one question where I'm like, oh my God, I have no idea how this person's gonna react to that. And all without fail, every time, it's always a great reaction, which I think shows, even if people go back and listen through those, I think if you're really into rum, if you follow the podcast, you'll know which each response came from. But for those who didn't catch it all, we made, or I should say John made Richard Seal laugh with a question about whether he was mad that Goslings used a seal mascot before he could, which when I saw that question and that we were posing it to Richard Seal, I didn't know if he would just immediately hang the phone up but he laughed. So it just goes to show the talent that I think you have. And I can't wait to see, how you top those questions in 2021. The prospect of you trying to top them frightens me a little bit. Yeah. But I can't wait. That was great.
Yeah, thank you. I have to give you credit, Will, too, because although it's only usually a few hours you see them, there's usually this moment where I'm like, oh God, is this a really bad idea? Is this a really bad idea? So when I give them to you, I expect you to kind of look at them and be like, no, that one's not going to fly, which you've done a couple of times, but to your credit, have held on most of the time, and it's worked out most of it. And I think we've just having fun showing people's personality
Yeah.
which I love to do, and I love to mix in a little bit of the serious questions in there too. So yeah, when you go back and listen, I think it catches people off guard and they answer more honestly. So that's always one of my goals. So I thought I love the segment. I'm super glad we're getting a chance to do it, and we will definitely be doing more in 2021.
It goes to show the benefits of partnerships, because it's the kind of idea that I would have been way too anxious and scared to try on my own. I never would have done it. You jumped right in with both feet, and it's great. So I love it
Awesome.
every episode.
So, Will, another thing that we wanted to go over was we had a listener that commented on our Instagram account asking for data from the rapid fire questions.
This is like the most rum nerd thing ever. Like it's like it's like, you know, I want to know, you know, like what still, like what yeast strain, like the fermentation time. Like now they're coming to the podcast and being like, hey, we've got to get the data. We got to get the full transparency on all the stats for the rapid fire segment. So I love it. This is
I was
great.
surprised, yes, as well, but I figured we better deliver if we were asked to do this. So I will go through some of this really quickly, but just for a pivotal moment in time, I believe was the Instagram account. So I don't know who this is, but thank you for writing into us, and here you go.
Yes, thank you.
So in terms of neat or on the rocks, I should start by saying we had a total of 13 guests go through the rapid fire gauntlet in total this year.
Yeah.
So they all answered this leading question, which was neat or on the rocks.
Mm-hmm.
And the split was, drum roll, 38.5% prefer rocks and 61.5% prefer drinking rum neat.
Wow.
Bit of a small sample size, but
I've never been through the rapid fire segment myself, but I would answer neat to that question.
I figured, and at some point we're going to have that happen, Will. You're going to get that as well. The other one we asked consistently was column, pot, and blend. A quick note, in our very first interview with Eric K. from Holmes Key, we didn't ask him this. So that means, I guess, A, we have to have him back on at some point to ask him. It's only fair. And B, we only had the 12 in total for this. So with that in mind, the totals for the column, pot, and blend was 1 for column, 8.33 repeating percent. 4 went pot, and then 7 went for the blend at 58%. Sorry, pot was 33.33%, and blend is 58.33%. So blend wins out there.
Yeah, don't underrate the blends.
That's
don't
right.
underrate them, people.
And the favorite mixed drink was probably no surprise, the daiquiri. That one wasn't as consistent, but pretty much everybody ranked the daiquiri as their favorite mixed drink when we did the A/B comparison questions there.
You can't go wrong.
Yeah. I think in 2021, here's my thought. I'm thinking I'm going to change it a little bit and maybe add a different or another standard leading question so that we can continue to get this very, very important and obviously super accurate scientific data for our rum community.
Right. I want to get to the point where, you know, the big spirits conglomerates are coming to us and paying for this data. That's where I want to be.
Definitely. But I have a couple ideas. So in 2021, we'll probably have some new leading questions to go along with some of the other ones to give people. So that'll be good.
I can't wait. You're teasing me.
Yes. So other podcast stats from this year that you might find interesting, Will, there was a total of, as you know well, 16 episodes. As we mentioned, 13 were featured interviews. 1 was our introduction episode, and then 2 episodes with just you and I talking some specific rum topic.
Hey, you add this one in, it's going to be 17.
That's true. It will be 17. You're right.
Boom.
Yes. The longest episode was episode 12 with Ed Hamilton, which was back in August. That was 1 hour and 48 minutes. Yes.
That's no surprise. It was great.
It was awesome. He went deep.
Yeah.
So that's always great for us. The shortest episode was just us discussing rum resources on episode 6.
Good decision on our part.
Back in April.
Good decision on our part. Keep it short when it's just us, so we don't have someone here to carry us.
The total time spent talking on the Rumcast this year. Do you have a guess?
Oh wow, I don't know this one.
This took a lot of maths today, but I got it.
I'm gonna say 30 hours.
Okay, so it was just under 1,013 minutes in total, or 16 hours, 51 minutes, and 59 seconds. Now, that was actually the amount that ended up in the podcast. To be honest, yes, we probably recorded a whole lot more, and that's on the cutting room floor, but I don't have that for you.
Okay.
But yeah, not bad for a first-year effort. Over 16 hours, over 1,000 minutes of content for rum lovers and for us, so I thought that was good.
And I think we would have hit more. You know, COVID obviously impacted your work schedule significantly. And so we had some periods of time where we weren't as active as we wanted to be. But I feel pretty confident that in 2021, we're going to crank things up to another level. And, listeners out there, don't expect another little, 17 episode season. We're going to crank it up this year. There's going to be more
Boom.
than that.
You heard it here.
I'm calling the shot now.
Bill's doing it. I just hope to be involved. I know we only started to get really accurate data for the podcast just a couple of months ago, but I just wanted to say that we're averaging more than 1,000 listens per month at this point.
That's great.
And our biggest audience by country is, no surprise, North America.
Oh, wait, did you just say North America as a country, John?
Oh, I did, actually. Oh, wow.
Wow.
I meant,
that is embarrassing for
I
you.
meant continent. Did I mention I'm drinking rum right now as we record this? So it should be North America and the United States is number 1 by country.
Yes.
Then the UK is coming in at number 2. And then Australia sliding into the number 3 spot, which I was surprised to see.
That's impressive. Although we did have an episode with Steve McGarry from Ben Lee Rum that was focused on Australian rum. So we may have picked up a nice share of the Aussie market with that one.
Well, and I think he knocked it out of the park too with the history knowledge.
Yeah, it was great. It was really fascinating. I learned a ton I didn't know about Australian rum.
Agreed. So that was great. Within the U.S., the top states were, drumroll, Florida number 1. Oh,
wow.
Take that, Will.
Didn't see that coming.
Take that, Will. FRS coming through, Florida Rum Society. Woo! So here was a surprise for me. California was number 2.
Okay, I can see that.
California's a big state, yeah.
Yeah.
And then Texas, number 3. So
I just think of everything in terms of electoral votes now. My first thing was like, well, California has like 50-something electoral votes. So, yeah, a lot of people live there.
We're not going there. We're on this podcast. But I thought, it does make sense. Like you said, the population in California is very large. Texas also, same thing, number 3. And just edging out at number 4, was just edged out, I should say, at number 4 is New York. So New York as well. So thank you all for your support in those states. And there were plenty of other states on there as well, and quite a distribution. Those were just the top in terms of the amount of people. So
there are also 47 countries total, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. It's amazing to see that, although I think we are focused a lot in terms of the United States and North America, and we both live here, and that's kind of our perspective. But I think we have really spread out to a lot of different, as you mentioned, 47 different countries and a lot of different places. And it just shows how big rum is on a worldwide scale.
Yeah. And I think, as we continue this, I want to continue to branch out and to bring in more people from those countries,
Yes.
Not only producers from different countries, but also people who know those markets, who know bringing rum to those countries a little bit better. Because I think as we get into talking about some of our, favorite rums from the year, I will say my choices are colored somewhat by the selection in the U.S. market. Now, that's not to say I never get stuff from overseas. Sometimes I do, but our experiences are somewhat dictated by where we live. So,
right.
That's just some context. But also, I want to continue bringing in people from all over the world to give different perspectives on how they experience rum elsewhere.
Yeah, totally agree. And I'm looking forward to that as well. And I think that's a great thing. I think what we should do, Will, is maybe take a quick break for our sponsor.
Yeah.
And then get back with those categories and the best of the year.
Sounds great. If you're listening to us now, there are 6 words about rum that are likely to catch your eye, or ear in this case. Single barrel, cask strength, no additives. Those 6 words are the whole premise of the single cask rum releases from Holmes Key, the sponsor for this episode of the Rumcast. Holmes Key seeks out the world's best rums and releases them unadulterated and at cask strength in limited editions. Check out their website at holmeskey.com to learn about current releases distilled at places like Foursquare in Barbados, Demerara Distillers in Guyana, Travelers Liquors in Belize, and South Pacific Distilleries in Fiji. A new series of limited editions will be released in 2021. Find them at Holmes Key. That's HOLMESCAY.com. so let's get into these categories. And
Yes.
one, to provide a little more context on this, because I'm a total weirdo when it comes to judging things or like telling people about my favorites and stuff like that. You
Okay.
and I have talked about this over text many times. And I like what I wanted, like my one apprehension to doing something like this was I didn't want people to think that what I'm saying is like I think these were the best rums of the year, because I could not possibly try all of the rums from this year. So what I want to communicate is that each of these categories, this is like my personal favorite that I experienced in some way. And an analogy for this is like my favorite band is a band called the Drive-By Truckers, and there's a lot of reasons why they're my favorite, but if someone was going to ask me what is the best band of all time, that wouldn't be my answer. Best and favorite to me are different. Favorite is something personal, and it's just it's different. It's less a judgment. It's less about telling you what you should enjoy and just being like, this is special to me in some way. It's tied up in things that go just beyond what's in the glass, so to speak. So anyway, that's my little weirdo preamble to just, before we get into this.
I'm glad you're here to balance me out, because I think I'm a little too cocky. I'm like, hey, if I like it, you should too.
Hey, that's why we have two hosts here.
Exactly.
So some of these categories, I won't go through all of them, but so we're going to do best new to me rum of the year. So something that was kind of our first experience with a rum. We're going to do best unaged, best aged, best overall, best value.
Yeah.
Then we're also going to get into a few podcast related categories, like our favorite interviews and things like that. So I think a good place to start would be how about the best new to me rum of the year category?
Let's do it. Yeah.
So tell me,
you want to lead or you want me to lead?
No, I just set us up. So, I'm going to pass it off to you.
All right,
it's
I'll
your
knock
turn
it
to
down.
deliver here. Yeah.
That's right.
Best new to me rum of the year. What was your pick?
So just to start off with, I took this category to mean this rum has been out other years, or is could be an older rum, and it's a little less specific in terms of a release specifically for this year. So here's my answer for best new to me rum of the year. It's a short and simple one. Worthy Park. All of it.
Oh man, you did this. I did something similar with my answer.
Really?
And I thought you were
great.
totally going to be like accusing me of a cop-out, but you did the same thing. So I love this. Okay, so tell me why you picked Worthy Park and not just one release from Worthy Park.
Okay, so just prior to 2020, I hadn't had any Worthy Park at all. And then a listener, I'll just use first name Brian, was nice enough to send me Worthy Park Value 2007 WPL mark release, which I think is really incredibly difficult to find now. But he was able to send me some of that. I'm incredibly thankful, because holy cow, that is an amazing rum. And that was the first experience I had with Worthy Park, so I kind of started at the pinnacle in a way, I guess. But it made me curious, because I was like, gosh, this is really such a great rum that I have to try these other ones. So a short time afterwards, I was able to try the Worthy Park Single Estate Reserve, which is, Worthy Park's own flagship release.
Yep.
Man, that is really also a really great rum.
It is.
And one that I was immediately like, I have to buy a bottle of this. Like,
it's a great, like, I have this specific memory of sitting on my back patio in the summertime in the evening and having a glass of that rum.
Yes.
And it was just the perfect rum for that setting, like a warm summer evening. It was great.
Yeah, I can't say enough good things about it. It's one, I would put it this way. This should be in every rum lover's bar, period. And I do want to also follow up, and I'll tell you, I recently had a chance to taste a few more things coming from them in 2021.
Uh-oh.
So I have to say, I can't say much about it, but I will say with how good those samples were, Worthy Park is very likely to be right back on this list at the end of 2021. So keep a lookout for those, because
awesome.
it's going to be a great year again for them. So Will, tell me about your best new to me rum of the year.
So mine, I picked the Rums of St Lucia. So this was another kind of, and when I say the Rums of St Lucia, I'm really, talking, there's basically one, major distillery on St Lucia now. So,
right.
The Chairman's Reserve label, Admiral Rodney, those brands, all coming from St Lucia Distillers, which is now part of the Spearbomb family. And man, we've got to do an episode with someone from St. Lucia Distillers, because I know we had Kiowa from Spirit Bomb on here and talked mainly focused on their rum agricole portfolio. So
Right.
But St. Lucia, it was one of those places I hadn't had very much from there, and part of the reason for that is just none of those brands have much distribution in the market here. So
in Tennessee,
just they weren't ever that accessible without putting a little more effort into it. And the good
Mm-hmm.
news is I started to see a few Chairman's Reserve
Nice.
bottles in the area, but I'm hoping, they start to get some of the more limited releases. But anyway, yeah, someone was kind enough to send me a bunch of samples of a few different Chairman's Reserve Masters selections, all of the Hamilton St. Lucia rums,
Yeah.
which, have always had this reputation of being like really great value rums, in which I concur 100% with.
Mhm.
But I'm gonna use a weird way of thinking about this. Have you? I'm gonna sound like freshman college dorm guy posing a philosophical question. Have you ever tried to imagine a new color?
No. I think I've heard that question in the past and just passed it off as like
as a stupid question.
No, I don't think it's stupid, because I get where you're going. I was a philosophy minor too, by the way, in undergrad.
There you go.
So,
well, this is like half-baked philosophy. This isn't like serious philosophy, but I've thought about that before, and I've always come to the conclusion of like, it's impossible to imagine a new color, but I feel like if I ever saw a new color that I didn't know about previously, it would be that kind of thing where it's like instantly it clicks and it's like instantly familiar. And that's how I felt trying these St. Lucia rums. It was like, they're unique, but there's something about them that just made sense, like in the wider rum universe, them fitting in their own unique way. And I just think I think it's a fabulous distillery. The one that stuck out to me the most was, it was one of those Chairman's Reserve Master selections, and it was 100% from the Vendome pot still. So they have a variety of stills. They have a few different pot stills, different column stills. And that was the one that I really gravitated toward. And new to me, Rum of the Year, St. Lucia Distillers, everything coming out of there. It's what I love about the category is, so many different countries, different distilleries, different styles, different perspectives.
There's so much to explore, right?
Exactly.
And we know we have a long way to go before we've explored, if ever, in our lifetimes, all the rum that there is to explore. So it's just such a great thing to do that with. The way I look at it, by the way, with the whole new color thing, I always see that as like my brain is like creating this new file. And it's like, it's filing a new chapter or a new file of something that hadn't previously been there. So this new connection is made. And that connects to other things.
Right.
But it still has its own place.
I like that.
So I can totally see what you're talking about. And, I've professed my love for St. Lucia rums in the past on this program as well. So
yeah.
So we moving on to the next category here.
Yeah. Let's go with unaged.
Okay, unaged. I was fortunate that I had the chance to try a lot of different unaged products this year.
Okay.
So I had a lot to pick from, and I considered quite a few, but I ended up going with the Clarence Sajus.
I've heard great things about that one.
Honestly, all the Clarence being brought in by Kate Perry and La Maison Velier are truly great. They're all flavorful, and they're all bold and unaged.
Complex.
Yes.
Yeah.
But my favorite is still the Sajus, even after having tried every single one but the Le Rocher. So I will make that stipulation.
See, I haven't had the Sajus yet. The Vival was the favorite of the ones that I've had so far.
Got it.
It was one of those rums that, like, when you have it, I kept tasting it like the next day after I had it.
Yeah, it sticks around. Yeah. To me, the Sajus has a bit more sweetness than the others, like the Vival, and slightly more balanced in terms of that.
Vival was like super savory. Savory. Yeah.
Yes. And Casimir has a little bit of like I've heard it described as like a barbecue potato chip, believe it or not, which is close, I think, and that gives a good color to what it is. But again, I think you really, truly can't go wrong with any of these. They're great price points, and I think they get overlooked a little bit by people that are either just starting out in the hobby and haven't really had a chance to really engage with an unaged rum and what it is beyond what we typically think of an unaged mixing type of rum would be. And I'm super in love with them, and if you can get the Sajus or any of the Clarence, really, you really should spring for it. They're awesome.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you brought up at the beginning that like you got to try a lot of unaged rums this year, because when I was looking back through this, I was like, man, I kind of like, I wouldn't say I neglected it. It was just a little bit of, I just didn't get to as many of them as I wished I had, you know, going into the year. And that's, I try to make that same point a lot to people in just that, you know, when you're exploring rum, don't neglect what's possible with rum that has not been aged. And I do want to clarify real quick with this category. We actually didn't talk about this beforehand, but both of the rums we ended up picking are truly unaged, because there are a lot of rums that, you know, are sold as white rums.
Right.
Light rums or white rums that are aged and then the color is filtered out of them, which they're great rums like that too. But those Clarins you mentioned, they're unaged. They don't spend any time in casks. My pick does not spend any time in casks as well. So yeah, I need to get to all of those Clarins, by the way. That's just a reminder to me. I haven't yet, but they're unlike anything else you'll experience.
Cool. So tell me, what is your unaged pick?
My pick is Uruapan Trawanda Blanco. Trawanda is basically a sugarcane spirit from a specific part of Michoacan in Mexico. Some are made with 100% cane juice. Some also have, you know, molasses-based distillate, or also some panela crystallized sugar goes in as well. But this is all pre-distillation, so into the fermentation. But as I understand it, whatever type of sugarcane is going into it, it has to come from this area. So this particular bottle, it's the blue one. If you've seen it in stores, it's this bright electric blue bottle. It's 1 liter. It's
great
hard to miss. Value.
Yeah.
It's like usually around $25 or less, and it's a 50-50 blend of molasses-based spirit that they distill in a French style column still, and then the other 50% is a pot distilled cane juice rum, and the juice comes from estate grown sugarcane. It's you know, to overgeneralize a little bit, it's sort of a combination of a funky Jamaican style rum and a rum agricole, even though I know there's more to rum agricole. Again, I'm overgeneralizing because the cane juice part of the distillate is distilled in the pot still. Rum agricole is, you know, always in the French style column still. So I know it's an overgeneralization. It's also, I wouldn't really compare it to Clarin, and I don't mean this in a bad way. This particular bottle is not as complex as those Clarins that you mentioned. But one of the things that I just really loved about it, do you know what the cocktail ranch water is? Are you familiar with that? It's
I'm not.
Tequila
No,
drink.
I have to be honest.
So it's 1.5 ounces of tequila, around half an ounce of lime juice, and then you top it with Topo Chico, the mineral water from Mexico. And so I made my own version of. I figured I have this Mexican rum. I should make, you know, ranch water. Typically another Mexican spirit that goes into it. So I made that just with the Uruapan Trawanda. It's fantastic. It's like the perfect hot summer day drink. And it's just, again, it's another example of what I love about rum.
Yeah.
I didn't know until recently, you know, that rum was made in Mexico. So it's just one of those things where the more places you look, the more places it pops up. The more you find it, the more it challenges your expectations and shows you something different.
Yeah, I've always seen it there. I haven't taken the leap myself yet. I've never had a chance to try any Mexican rum, actually. So I'm really interested, and that will be one of my my checklist items for 2021 to try for sure, because I'm always interested in it. I do like tequila, and I'm only saying that because obviously Mexico and tequila go together. I know it's not a tequila-like product at all. Or maybe it is. I don't know.
I would say, though, like if someone came to me as a really big fan of tequila, usually I try to introduce them to a rum agricole or a cane juice based spirit, because to me, you know, tequila has some of that vegetal,
the grassy,
you know, kind of plant like quality to it.
Yeah.
And so like I think if you're a fan of tequila, I do think that this might possibly be up your alley.
Cool. Yeah, I definitely have to make room to try that this year.
All right. So next, do we want to get into aged?
Yeah, I think let's do it. Let's go with the complement to the unaged is the best aged, I think. And so I'll just get straight to it, because we already talked enough a little bit about this. And so you stole a little thunder from me.
I didn't mean to steal any thunder.
That's okay. That's all right. Well, you know, whatever. It's Admiral Rodney's HMS Royal Oak.
Ah, okay.
I
Yeah.
talked about this, on the program. This is, as you mentioned, a St. Lucia product. And what's interesting, and
the pitchforks are coming out right now because you just picked an 80 proof rum.
I was going to get there.
I'm just going to steal all your thunder, yeah.
Here's the thing. As you just mentioned, number one, this is a 40% ABV or an 80 proof rum.
Yeah.
And it's pure column distilled,
Mm-hmm.
right? So usually for rum geeks like us, that would mean like, okay, this is, it doesn't mean it's a bad product to buy at all, but it's not something that excites us in the same way, or it's not packing what we're looking for as connoisseurs, and especially me, who I just like to sip rum more than anything else. But I have to tell you, all of that is wrong. And this is obviously just my opinion, but my opinion is the Admiral Rodney's column distilled 40% ABV releases are freaking fantastic. And I will say this, it's not a high ester pot stilled rum, obviously.
No.
And it's not something it's not going to challenge your palate in the same way that those would. But that's okay, because what you get with this rum is you get a still very complex, something you can sip on all night, relax, and watch the world go by.
Yeah.
And it's just great.
I would agree with that. I think it's also completely different from some of those Chairman's Reserve products that I mentioned earlier, which come from the same distillery. If you do a side-by-side of an Admiral Rodney and like that Chairman's Reserve Vendome still release that I mentioned earlier, they're significantly different.
Yeah. Now, there was another reason that I picked the Royal Oak for best aged.
Okay.
And that's because of the three of them, I find for my palate, it gives me the right balance of aging.
Okay.
And there's the three. There's the HMS Princessa, I think, which is the youngest blend.
Mm-hmm.
The Royal Oak is the middle, and then the Formidable, or I guess Formidable. That was my lame attempt at French. Which is the oldest blend.
Okay.
All of them are good, and I do like all of them. For me, the Royal Oak is the one that I went with as my favorite of the three, but I will tell you this. I've heard people pick the Princessa as their favorite and the Formidable as their favorite, just depending on how much oak you want in your aged rum.
Yeah, I have some samples of those, and I can't even recall which one I preferred. I liked them all.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with your assessment about column still rum, 80 proof. Like with all those releases, I remember looking at them and thinking about, if I were going to, but I always try, if I'm judging something as a sample, I always try to think about like, would I buy this? And I think the only hang up I had was based on the price of those. I might hesitate a little bit just because I just for the price, I would love a little bit higher proof than 80.
Yeah.
Even though, as you said, you could drink it all night. There's still a lot of flavor there for an 80 proof rum. But that was kind of the one thing. Like if you could get up to the 90 proof, I think it could be great.
I get you, and I actually do think they're coming out with the Officers Release series, which I think there's one that's already recently was released here in the U.S. It had been out in Europe for a while.
Okay.
Like a port cask finish, I think, and I think it's 43 or 46 or around there ABV. I don't have it in front of me, so I can't be sure, but it's definitely higher than the 40 ABV, and that was, I think, their intent there to go with that. I haven't tried that one yet. It's on my list to get. As soon as I can, because I'm smitten with Admiral Rodney's anyways.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know the Florida Rum Society has a pick coming from St. Lucia Distillers, and if I remember correctly, it's from the column still and kind of similar to like how the Admiral Rodney rums are distilled.
It is. Technically it's a Chairman's Reserve.
Okay.
A pick.
Okay.
It's not an Admiral Rodney's, but if I remember right, Chris Funk from Sparabam, who we were doing it with, did mention that the pick that we ended up with was a little bit closer to the Admiral Rodney style than what the Chairman's Reserve line has been doing. I don't want to cloud it for people. Here's what I would say is if you see it, I was on the tasting team for it, and it is a really phenomenal pick, and it's really inexpensive. So it's cheaper than what you would find in some of the Admiral Rodney's line.
I already sent you some money to set aside a bottle for me, so yeah, it's
great.
Yeah.
I can't say enough about it. And there's other picks that are Chairman's Reserve picks I've tried that are excellent as well. So it's just all around. It's good stuff, and I'm looking forward to more of it in 2021 and beyond. So Will, let's go with yours. What's going to take your best aged category here?
Yeah. So one of the interesting things as I was trying to come up with my picks for this was I realized that like I wasn't going to limit my decisions to stuff that just came out this year. And I mean that's already apparent in my picks. Like the Urupan wasn't something that just came out this year.
Right.
Those St. Lucia rums that I mentioned obviously have been around for a while.
Yeah.
But
well, like you mentioned, this is your 2020, right?
Exactly. So this pick for aged, it was really a rum that I just felt like I got to know even deeper over 2020, and I just kept coming back to it over and over again, and just my appreciation for it grew for how versatile it is, the price point. It's the Hampton Estate 46.
Yeah.
46 ABV. So the green one, not the overproof one.
Right. Although the overproof is great too.
The overproof is amazing as well. Yeah. This is just one of those rums that I can have almost any occasion, and just to go through some of the specs with it. So it's 7 years of age in Jamaica. It's a blend of 3 different Hampton marks. So it's the OWH mark, which is kind of their lowest ester level mark, the L Rock mark, and a little bit of DOK in there as well. And I really just think it's to me one of the best introductions you could give someone to Jamaican rum who's already like a little bit more adventurous.
Yeah.
A lot of times I'll recommend Appleton or something to someone. It's just an introduction to rum as a whole. If I really want to give someone an idea of like the funkiness of Jamaican rum in an aged context, because if I don't want to introduce it to them as far as age goes, I can just give them, Ray and Nephew or something like that. But I think this bottle showcases that Jamaican funk that we all love in a balanced way, in a way that's not going to be, scare someone away, but kind of bring them in and hook them. And anytime I've come across a roughly comparable Jamaican rum, from another distillery in terms of like ABV and price point and that sort of thing, I always try to do like a blind taste comparison with this bottle. And I
that's your base.
I haven't found one comparable that I like. I've lined this one up next to that Worthy Park release, and again, they're both great, but there's something about the Hampton. It hits those like pineapple notes for me. That it's just something I associate with Hampton, and it's just I love it. It's great.
Yeah, I don't know that it invalidates totally, Worthy Park up against Hampton, because for me, although they're both Jamaican rums, and they do share some qualities, to me those two marks are very different.
Oh yeah, they are.
Worthy Park much lighter in flavor overall, and Hampton brings the funk, like you said. So for me, those are two different categories in my mind of Jamaican rum, both amazing. When I'm comparing them, I'm not necessarily comparing them because I think they're like super similar. Right.
More again, it's like the ABV, kind of the price point, and like they are both from Jamaica. So they share some commonalities. But yeah, it's great to taste them side by side and get to see the nuances and differences between those distilleries.
One thing I will mention, and maybe this is probably going to be controversial a little bit. What do you think about the bottle overall, the design?
I love the bottle.
Hampton?
It's actually like
as
corny as it seems. It's probably some of the reason why I love it. I have the box that it comes in next to me, and it's got so much text on it.
It really does.
But I love it. And the alligators and the text, so not the text at the top that says Hampton Estate, but the little kind of subheadings, like the one that says the high esters art. So the name of that font is Cooper. And the band that I was in college, the first CD we put out together, we used that same font on the album cover. And it's just kind of this cool, like it gives you a little bit of like late 70s kind of vibes to it. And I love this bottle. So I feel like you're about to say you don't like it, which is great because, conflict and disagreement are the lifeblood of podcasts.
So I'll be clear in saying I agree with you that the liquid in the bottle is friggin' amazing and I love it. I don't love the bottle as much as you do.
Wow, I can't believe it took us a whole year of podcasting before I found out that you have no taste.
Oh, wow. Really? Really? Okay. No, that's right. I got something for you later. Well, we're good. No. I'm just going to hit you with it later when you don't expect it.
Oh, man.
So
I'm on guard now.
You should be. Something about it, I don't know, like you said, if it's just the block text, but I don't... I'm not a fan of the aesthetic of it, I guess you would say. Again, not that it's anything. I know there's probably a lot of history behind it, so the thing I don't want to do is like offend anybody.
Sure.
And definitely don't. And there's no accounting for taste, of course. Everybody's going to have different opinions on aesthetics for things like that. And obviously, when it comes to the rum, as long as the rum's good, that's the most important thing. But I will say that, yeah, the bottle design overall, I'm not a huge fan of. And hearkening back to the Admiral Rodney's, which we talked about earlier, I freaking love the Admiral Rodney bottle.
See, those feel a little too fancy for me.
No, I guess we just have different tastes of that.
I think we just have different bottle tastes. Yeah.
I love the stopper on the Admiral Rodney. I love the square feel to it, and everything about it to me says like this is like the rum that's like gonna knock your socks off. And there is something to that presentation. When you talk about mixed drinks and presentation, there's always something to that. But as we're mentioning and we're seeing right now, I guess with the two of us, is that that's not going to be the same for everybody.
No, definitely not.
Huh.
And yeah, I'm sure some people look at this Hampton. I mean, there's just a lot of text. There's a lot of words on it.
Yeah.
A lot more than I think a lot of companies would put on there.
Yeah.
But and maybe it's because I'm a writer. I don't know. But I've always from the moment I saw this bottle, and that's not even something that I necessarily think about that much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, on a subconscious level, I definitely do. But it's so funny that it's not your cup of tea because it's like it's one of the few where someone was like, "What are your top rum bottles?" Like I'd have to think about it. But this one, I would think of this one right away.
See that one with the novel on the cover? That one.
Oh, that's good. That's good. All right. So to keep it moving, so we've tackled favorite aged. Where do we want to go next?
I think I'd like to do most surprising. And let's go through that because I think it's an interesting category to offset, when we talk about best. And now we're just going to go to most surprising, which doesn't necessarily equate to best. Although in this case, I'll tell you for my pick, it is an amazing rum. So I feel confident in saying it's an excellent example of a rum. But it was also, and why I picked it, the most surprising experience for me, or at least one of this year that I had. So this is the Savannah High Ester Reunion Rum. Again, another La Maison and Vellier release that I was lucky to get, I think. This is an unaged rum from Reunion, and it's a high ester count of, I think it's about 500 is the mark of where that is. So up there in terms of high ester, double distilled in pot stills. I think it's 62.5 ABV, so it's up there.
See, this is another one of those unaged releases that I was kicking myself for not getting to this year. And partially because I had a chance to try some aged products from the same distillery and was just like blown away by them. So please continue.
Let me tell you what, this is a freaking amazing example of what an unaged rum can be. It is such an intense flavor, but very different than the Claren we talked about unaged before. Yes, as complex in different ways, but this one, it gives me this real like juicy fruit gum flavor. And
I always heard about this, like the fruitiness of this one. And that's what I got in those aged. I was telling you about those aged samples before we started recording, and I was talking about how it was like intense, like raspberries. This and the Clarens were the rums that were unaged this year that truly changed my perception of what a sipping rum is, because you obviously usually would tend to think of an aged rum as a sipping rum. But I will tell you, with this, I would not mix this Savannah High Ester Reunion rum ever with anything. Wow.
It's too good for that.
Wow.
It's just so unique, and it's such a great, unique flavor.
What a snob take.
Yeah. Maybe so, but I'll own that.
I'm kidding, of course. No, yeah. I've had that same experience. Like, I truly don't care, like, how people use their rums, but I definitely have rums that I, won't ever mix. Which is actually one of the nice things about the rum I just talked about before, is it's right on that line where, like, I rarely do mix it, but I occasionally do, and it's incredible in certain cocktails, which I'll talk about later. But please continue with the Savannah. I'm sorry.
I think that's it for me for that one. Is it's just, I would say it's tough to find now, is my understanding. But if you find it, or if you're trying to seek it out, it's worth seeking. It's truly an example of what a rum can do in a different way than perhaps you've anticipated or expected ever, even for rum geeks like us. So it's worth finding.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go with your most surprising rum. What do you got?
So my most surprising one of the other rum-related projects that I do is American Rum Report. And, so basically it's a newsletter I send out.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, about craft distilleries in the U.S. that are making rum. And, one of the kind of funny things about doing that is, a lot of times people see that I do that and they assume that like I think American rum is the best, and like that's as you can see from what I've said are my favorites of the year, that's not really the case. Like I started doing it because I thought the category of American rum was interesting and very young and trying to figure itself out, and there was like there's like 500 or 600 something craft distilleries that are making it, and most of them really like it's not that great or not that interesting, but there's those few gems in there, the privateers, the Richlands, that are really taking it seriously and doing some really cool stuff. And those are the ones that I really get excited about and that I enjoy writing about, and I enjoy writing about the category as a whole, just to try to like let people in on who's doing stuff that's interesting and worth following, and what are the aspects of it that need to improve and need to get better. So one of the things I do love about it is that it's full of surprises. And one of the most surprising things to me was this rum I came across. A listener actually who lives in the same area as me, named Adrian, told me about a local store that had a barrel pick from a distillery in Texas called Treaty Oak. And they had a cask strength barrel of 8-year-old rum, which was incredibly surprising to me because I was not familiar with this distillery, and like I write about this American rum category, but I wasn't familiar with it. And the fact that they had like you don't see a lot of cask strength releases also, right? I know people may be familiar with like the privateer ones and stuff, but that's the exception to the rule. And then also having rum that was 8 years old. I mean, the category just hasn't been around long enough to where there are very many people who are like
they're there yet
open that long. Like there are some, but like very small amount. And so I was like, okay, I gotta try this.
Gosh, that's so exciting for the future though of American rum, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And like the most exciting thing, like the reason why I picked this is because it was ridiculously good. It was like awesome. Wow. It was really, really good. Just like I think it's a bottle of 55 or 56%. As soon as it hits your tongue, just this like explosion of salted caramel. It's really good. If you're someone who's had like some of the really great privateer releases and is at least open to the idea of maybe some distillers in the US can make rum that's good, try this one as well if you can find it. And like the crazy thing is the distillery like hasn't even made rum for a few years, because they primarily focus on whiskey, which again was another shock to me, because usually when distilleries are making a bunch of different stuff, a lot of times if they do have a rum, it's subpar because they're not obsessed with it. It's
right, it's a stopgap, right?
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of times it is
before they get to the stuff they want to do. They're like, well, I guess we'll make rum.
So I emailed the company and I was like, are you guys really not making rum anymore? Because this is really good. And they said that they are planning to do some more rum in the future, so that's good. But Treaty Oak, check it out if you can find any of these single barrels. I don't know what all stores got them, but look for it, because man, it really subverted my expectations.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, and maybe I can get some from you.
Yeah, I've got to send you a sample.
I look forward to it. So next category, we got a few left here. The one I was thinking about is best value. I think it's an important thing for rum lovers to understand that not all the good rums are crazy high priced. And as we've talked about ad nauseum here, it's different than the bourbon or maybe the Scotch markets, in that you can find these great rums that are under $50. Or even less than that. So I will start with mine. So my best value rum is relatively new. In fact, very, very new. I think it just came out this month.
Oh, wow.
And that is the brand spanking new Hamilton, Florida Rum Society blend.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay. Wait, so what blend is it? Like where's it sourced
Sure,
from?
so-
What's in it?
So it's a 35% cask strength aged Jamaican pot still rum from, you guessed it, Worthy Park Estate.
Okay.
And 65% high proof aged Guyanese rums, which is Demerara Distillers.
From Demerara, yeah. Oh, wow.
So
that's a great combo.
it is a really freaking nice combo. And here's the best part. It is $27.
20, really?
Yeah. Or maybe it's $27.99. So right in there.
And what did you say the age was on it?
Actually, I don't remember because it's a blend and I don't recall. Let me see if I can find out why we're talking.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's not super long aged if I recall correctly, and I know it was.
I'm guessing probably like 4 years or less. I would guess just based on the price point, but which I mean age should not be a barometer of how good something is going to be. I'm really just curious, you know, based on and Hamilton rums are an amazing value rum. Like there are many Hamilton rums that I think you could identify as a great value, but that one does sound particularly great, and it makes me sad that it's probably not going to be distributed up here since it was bottled especially for the Florida Rum Society. But hopefully that's a sign of more of those collaborations coming from Hamilton.
Well, actually, I'll tell you this. So I know Ed spoke recently with some of the Florida Rum Society members, including myself, and he mentioned that this is so good for him. He likes this one better than a lot of his other blends. He likes it that much. And he said because of that, his plan is, if it does well in Florida, which we expect it will, and it seems to already be flying, is that he's going to release it wider.
That would be great.
So it may well be a standard offering within the line of Hamilton's soon. So that's good. I couldn't find the aging exactly. What we'll do is we'll put it in the show notes. I do know that it was tropically aged.
Okay.
I remember that, and it's 45% ABV. So it's not super high, but it's higher than the 40 as we talked about earlier, which gives you a little bit of that extra kick.
Right.
For me, just at $27-$28, I mean, there's absolutely zero reason that you should. Heck, I would say if it was much more than that, we should still try to get it and enjoy this rum, because it is a very, very, as you mentioned, a good blend of two really great historic distilleries that have put some really good time into this rum, and Ed's taken it along with Brock and Jay who were involved in picking it from the Florida Rum Society, and they did a really great job. It's a phenomenal release, and if you can get your hands on it, you should.
And one of the things that I've always liked about the Hamilton Demerara 86 release is that it's hard to get stuff from that distillery at that price point that isn't sweetened.
Exactly. So
yeah,
no additives. Yeah.
Yep. The rums from DDL are incredible, and being able to get that type at that price point is I'm not even if I see that anywhere near me, I'm not even going to think twice about it.
All right, so Will, beat that for value. Boom.
So I've got two answers to this. And
cheater.
I'll also say that when I'm picking favorites, I tend to weigh value in my responses. So that's kind of been baked into some of my responses so far. And so one of them, it already has a reputation as a great value rum. This is not an original thought. This isn't breaking news like John's, but Stolen Overproof.
Yeah.
If you can still find it, such a great value. It comes in 375 milliliter bottles. It's usually about $17 to $20, and it's sourced from Hampton. I believe it's 6 years, if I'm remembering correctly. And 61 or 63. Sorry, I didn't write all the stats down on this one. It's in the ballpark of that. And I mean, it's just every person who's is in the rum business that I've talked to has talked about I've spoken to liquor store owners who have been they've just had a hard time selling this rum. And so there's a lot of it, there's a finite number of bottles out there, but you can still find it. And it's for that price point, for what you get in it, it's I think people look at it and assume that it's, just for cocktails.
Yeah.
I've absolutely sipped on that rum by itself. Don't think twice about it. It's great. If you still see it in the wild, snatch it up before it's gone.
Yeah, I've seen it every so often, and I've always looked past it exactly like you said.
Yeah.
I need to find it again because I've heard that it's getting harder and harder and harder to find right now.
So the other quick tip that I want to put out there in terms of value. So everyone's familiar with the Foursquare ECS, Exceptional Cask Selection.
Everyone that listens to this, yes, probably.
yeah. I really think that the non-cask strength releases that come out through that. So this would be ones like Premise would have been one from a few years back. This year, Sagacity would have been one of those.
Love it.
So Sagacity is at 48%. It's, you still, the amount of age on them varies a little bit. But, typically, I think Sagacity is 12 years. I don't know if Premise was 12 years. I can't remember quite what it was. But anyway, a lot of times, not right when these come out, but if you wait a little bit, the price will drop slightly. Like I got this bottle of Sagacity for $50. And just to me, when you compare those rums to other rums at that price point, like if you're in a store and you see like Appleton 12 or Mount Gay XO or even Black Barrel now, because the price has gone up on that, like it's usually Appleton 12 will be a little cheaper now, like in the 40s. But if you can get one of those ECS releases for like $50, to me that is such great value and worth like a little bit extra. And it's especially, I think, a great way for someone who's more curious and wanting to make their first rum purchase that's a little bit more expensive.
Yeah.
I think those are great value for what they are. So, just want to throw that out there.
You don't have to convince me there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not taking on like a tough case.
Yeah,
Like, everyone loves Foursquare. Well, not everyone, but it's a
standard in the industry at this point,
for
right?
For sure. Yeah. I'm not breaking any news. I just think that those in particular are great value for where they're priced.
I totally agree.
All right. So are we getting to best overall now?
I think this is it. I think this is like the main event category.
Yeah. So our personal favorite overall rum we have this year. I don't know what your pick is. I'm excited to hear it. I've been making you go first on all of these. I'm fine to continue that. But do you want me to switch it up? I can.
Yeah, that works for me. Let's switch it up here, and I'll go after you because I feel so confident, Will, that my pick is amazing that I don't want to diminish yours. So
Okay. All right, yeah. I don't want to have a tough act to follow.
Yeah.
So I'll open mine with a question. Do you know what William Faulkner said is the only thing worth writing about? Are you familiar with this quote?
Yes, but I can't pull it right now, which makes me really, really sad.
I'll remind you. So it was in a speech he gave, and he said the only thing worth writing about is the human heart in conflict with itself.
Yes, yeah.
And I say that because my own human heart has been in conflict with itself over this choice.
Ooh.
And I almost I considered choosing something else just to try to sidestep that conflict. But I decided that, you know what, if the only thing worth writing about is the human heart in conflict with itself, then maybe the only thing worth podcasting about is the human heart in conflict with itself. So
all right, now I wish I would have gone first.
to honor the spirit of William Faulkner, who actually grew up in very close, or he grew up in the town that I was born in.
Oh, wow.
Oxford, Mississippi.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick and pick with the pick that my heart has wanted to make. And the reason why I'm experiencing internal conflict is because I'm picking a rum that was released by the company that sponsored this episode. So I know
you did not pick the one I picked.
Oh, did you pick one as well?
I think you may be leading towards it, which is going to be really upsetting.
Now we're going to make ourselves look really bad.
Yes.
Okay, because listen, I know Homesky sponsored some episodes of the podcast.
Yes.
That is true. To be totally transparent, they sponsored the episodes. Me happening to pick a Homesky release for my favorite rum of the year doesn't have anything to do with that. I'm just putting all the information out there for everyone. I'm being transparent about this. They sponsored the episode.
Yes.
I would never pick something because a company sponsored something.
Yep.
Some people may hear that and not believe it, but I'm putting all the information out there. I'm being transparent. I'm following my heart in making this selection because it really was my favorite rum that I tried this year.
Oh, man. All right, let's hear it.
It was the Key Belize.
Son of a gun!
Did you really pick this too?
I swear to everything, yes.
That is
the one I picked.
incredible. This is great.
Oh, my
man.
gosh.
Okay,
I felt so confident that I had this one and you didn't. That
this is gonna look so choreographed.
Yeah, it is.
It's too perfect though. We have to roll with it. So this rum, it's kind of fun that we ended up having one in common.
Yeah.
But this rum, so I had never had a rum from Belize before, and I don't think it's one that most rum drinkers are super familiar with.
Yeah, I had some, but go ahead. Yeah.
It came from Travelers Liquors Distillery in Belize, 15 years of age in Belize. As the home's key ethos is, no additives, it's cask strength, 61%. It was just, it's one of the most drinkable rums, even at, 61% that I've ever had. I think some people might say it's boring. In the same way that some people say Foursquare is boring, it's
I wouldn't get that.
To me,
okay.
Yeah, I would argue with it,
Yeah.
but I think that's just it's not a rum that I have to be in the mood for, and there are some rums that I love, that I think are great, but I kind of have to be in the mood for them if it's something that I might just sit there and think about and analyze a little bit. This rum, and I don't want to come off like it's not complex or anything like that.
No,
but
is.
It's just it's so drinkable, so good.
Before you get any further, I just sent you a picture to your phone of my sheet of what I picked for best overall rum, so I'm not cheating. But don't look at it because I want to talk about it too from my angle, but just for later,
amazing.
so that I'm not making this up. Yeah.
So just add on to what I've said so far. Tell me why you picked it.
All right. So I didn't have a struggle with the heart the same way you did. I would say that I sat there and opened my rum cabinet when we were, kind of researching for this episode, and the Key Belize is the one that leapt out at me. And although it's standing next to amazing other home ski releases, which I have a deep love for as well, in addition to some of the Foursquares that I have a deep love, and many of the ones I already talked about on this episode. So I'm really happy with my rum cabinet. But the Key Belize, for a few reasons. One, the color alone on this bottle is just so impressive.
It is amazing. It's like this deep, mahogany red. And no
additives.
Color. Yep. It's striking.
Yeah, it is striking, and then the nose is worth the price alone for me.
I don't know. If I open the bottle and I could only smell it, I might be a little upset.
Okay, fine. Maybe I want to taste it too. You're right, but I would say that the nose is amazing on this. This is all around. When we're talking about, to me, the category of best overall, and for my favorite of this year, I'm considering all pieces. So as we talked about, the color, the bottle design. I love the bottle design of Key. The nose is just wonderful, and you get so much of a nice cherry kind of sweetness coming off it, and to me that's followed on the palate as well. I get a kind of a cherry note that I just haven't really found in many other rums, and it's not like a sickly like maraschino cherry type of thing. It's like deep cherry flavor like you would expect in a cherry pie or something like that. And I mean, it's really hard to pick a favorite, but I think that the Belize is the most unique in the U.S. market right now. And that long finish that goes with it, it's my best overall for 2020, period.
Yeah, really, my one criteria for this was like, what was a rum that I just like struggled to put down? And then this was the one. It's just I just couldn't put it down. It's a rum for all occasions to me. And again, it was from a place that I wasn't familiar with, from one that I don't think, gets talked about as much in rum. And just being able to be like, oh, this is something new to me, and trying it and just being totally blown away at it. That's an experience.
I know it's one of my favorites that when I have like somebody that I want to introduce rum, which hasn't happened this much this year, unfortunately, because of COVID. But, my thought is like, I want to let people experience rums, but with that one, I have this like impulse to hide it. like I'm Smeagol from Lord of the Rings or something. No,
it's your
the precious.
Yeah.
I want to pull it away because like I want to make sure people can appreciate it before I give any of that to them. So that's how I knew when that feeling was there ever so slightly that it was a great rum. Yeah.
I can't believe that we picked the same rum.
I'm really upset too, man. In a good way, like you said, but I really did not expect that.
And just to reiterate again, because like
it's going to be hard for people to believe, but like you said, it is what it is. I mean,
I know, yeah, and like we've both bought products from Holmes Key with our own money.
Yes. Yeah, and none of this was given to us. Those bottles,
and like they're not cheap. So we went out of our way to get those and try them. And I also think it speaks to Eric, who started Homeski, was one of the first people we interviewed for the podcast.
Right.
And part of the reason why we wanted to talk to him is because brands like Homeski in the US, they're just not as common.
Right.
These independent bottlers who put stuff out, cask strength, no additives. Like there are a lot of independent bottlers that put out releases like that in Europe. And sometimes those releases make their way over here. We're starting to see a few more of them. But I think part of the reason why we gravitated to this is because like they're available to us. Like it's easier for us to get a hold of these rums, and there aren't as many options out there for this type of rum in the US. But yeah, that was just a stunning release. And the other ones were great too. I actually just a bottle of the Guyana release from Holmes Key just arrived at my house yesterday, and I was digging into that last night.
And it's not just us, right? Didn't I think it was Fat Rum Pirate that did a review of the Fiji recently?
Oh, I didn't see that.
It was he gave it a full 5 stars. He said I think his quote was something like, which is pretty astounding, but I'm going to mischaracterize this quote because I don't have it in front of me. Was essentially something like, "This isn't just one of the best Fijis ever; it's one of the best rums ever." Period.
Wow,
that he's had. So
that's high praise,
right, from that guy especially, because he's tried a bunch of stuff. So it's I don't think this is just us, and so I think from that perspective, it's more understandable that hey, rum geeks like us, we're drawn to it for all the reasons you just said. In terms of a U.S. release being a rare one with the no additives and the cask strength and all of that, and unique. Like you said, you'd never had a Belize before this. I'd had maybe a little bit, but it's rare. So
what were they independent bottlings, or were they brands from Travelers?
It was brands from Travelers. One was Tiburon, I believe.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So but and that's not a bad rum either. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was Kapali. Does that sound right?
Kapali is that is from Belize, but that's not from Travelers.
Right. So I know I've tried.
It's a cane juice rum, right?
Yeah, I know I've had Kapali, and I want to say Tiburon was also Belize, but I could be wrong, and we'll have to go back and check, and you can make fun of me next episode. But
no judgment.
Yeah. So
Tiburon is from Belize.
Look at that.
Yeah. I haven't had
bank
it
for the win. My file, like we talked about earlier.
There you go.
My file was correct in my brain. Yes. So Belize makes good rum. I mean, I enjoyed those other releases, but I think this Belize is the best Belize I've ever had by far, by leaps and bounds. So I think we've extolled the praises enough here, and Eric's probably smiling from ear to ear, and he should be, because he's brought a lot of people happiness this year.
And the folks at Travelers too.
Yeah.
I produced one of the Worspa Zavi live streams that Matt Petrick hosted.
Yeah.
Was with Travelers Liquors, and so I had a chance to meet some of those folks. Super nice. It was a really fun session.
Yeah.
So good on them as well, because they're the ones who made it in the first place.
I agree completely. Yep. Great teamwork and awesome getting it to us. So I can't wait to see what's coming out from them in 2021.
Same.
Well.
All right. Do we just want to run through do a rapid fire of these remaining categories?
Maybe that's a good idea, yeah, because we're pretty long in the tooth already. We do have these, but maybe we can try, like you said, we'll do rapidly through them and see how it works out.
Yeah, okay, so let's do some of these podcast-related categories.
Boom.
Let's start with most awkward interview moment, because we might have picked the same thing for this one.
Really? I would be surprised. All right, I'll start this time so that you can feel frustrated if it's the same one.
Okay, good.
All right.
Go ahead.
All right, so my pick was Ed Hamilton, episode 12, about midway through when he said he was going to...
this isn't what I picked, but I know what you're about to say.
This was when he was describing his method of batch blending for his pimento dram, and we both mentioned that it sounded like a Solera method, at which point he abruptly stopped his story and told us that if we were in front of him physically, he would use his long arms and choke us both out.
Yeah, I distinctly remember that.
Yeah, so I think that was a little bit awkward. It was funny, but it was awkward too. Word to the
no,
wise.
he said it in a very I knew he was joking.
Oh, yeah,
it
no,
was,
yeah.
and it's in the episode, so you can go back and listen. It was a funny moment, but definitely, yeah.
I don't feel threatened by
Ed's
Ed.
a big guy.
I'm
I
not
don't-
running
you know,
the other way if I see Ed on the street at this point or anything. But
that was great.
he is a big guy, like you said, and just hey, a word to the wise for people: if you meet Ed Hamilton in person, do not
Don't
mention
say
the word
Solera.
Solera ever, ever. All right, Will, what's yours?
Mine was not actually in the episode. It happened before we started recording, but it was with Richard Seal.
Yeah.
So it was one of our early interviews. So I think we were both a little bit more nervous anyway. And one of us said something to the effect of like, hey, do you have a time limit or a point at which, we need to stop or anything like that? And his response was basically something to the effect of, if it sounds like I'm getting bored, you'll know it's time to stop. Which I was just like, okay, now like I was already a little intimidated about doing this interview, but now I feel like even more pressure. So that was a little uncomfortable, but fortunately, as the interview went on, he warmed up more and more, and that actually ended up being one of my favorite conversations. And I think like we learned a lot of stuff that I hadn't heard before about Foursquare, including stuff like them, like starting to work on some cane juice rums, and we learned about Richard's little black book of names for the ECS releases, which I hadn't heard mentioned before, so it was great. Yeah.
All right, moving on, rapid fire style. Most surprising interview moment, Will? Do you have one?
Yeah, Ian A. Shearer.
You see, you took
we
mine
did our
again.
little blending exercise
yeah.
where we were coming up with our fake Rumcast blend.
Yes.
And then Karsten was like, "Okay, we'll do this little exercise where you guys go through our blending tool and as if you're gonna make a rum, but you have to." Judge the blends that we put together for you.
Yes.
And they actually sent us some blends, and we haven't shared about this on the podcast yet, but that's not the last you've heard about those blends.
That's right.
We'll have more to talk about those in 2021, just to tease you a little bit. But that was definitely the most surprising in a delightful way.
Yeah.
That I remembered from this year.
I picked the same one for the same reasons as you. It was just such a surprise when they're like, well, guys, if we're going to do this, we're doing it for real. And both of you and I were just like, we didn't know what to say at that point. We're like, well, we don't have thousands of dollars, so...
Right,
like,
yeah.
What does that mean? But yeah, it did work out, I think, for the best, and I can't wait to talk more about some of that soon. So yes, I agree. Same one for me.
Okay. Did you have a favorite interview or episode of the year?
I did, and actually, I'm glad we did this rapid fire because it's all kind of streaming together, which is, so I thought really hard about it. It was really tough. I considered a few different ones that were all really fun, and
It's like picking a favorite child, because like we truly didn't have any interviews that we did not enjoy.
Right. Agree completely. I enjoyed every single episode this year. I thought about, Jay's episode, which for me was a little more relaxed and fun, and I got to enjoy that one in a different way because I know Jay. And then, I learned a ton about rum agricole in Kiwa's episode and thought that was so good for me personally, just learned more about that. But ultimately, I settled on going all the way back to episode 4, which is what you talked about, Richard Seal of Foursquare. I think we were early on in the podcast still, and I think we had done some very good episodes with Maggie and Eric already, I think, but Richard is just so larger than life in the rum world. And on top of that, those that know Richard, as Eric K has told us on his episode, he doesn't suffer fools. I think we all had that. Both of us had that trepidation going in, that we were just like, God, please let this go well. I think it did for all the reasons you said. He was personable. He was great. He shared things with us. I even got him to laugh, like you said. So I just feel like that was such a turning point for us in confidence building. And, he even shared it. I remember he shared our episode on social media, which was just like euphoric.
I believe his endorsement was another of these podcasts.
Which is the best you're going to get from Richard Steele.
Yeah. It was great.
Yeah.
We had a good laugh over that.
Another of these.
Yeah. Another of these podcasts.
So that was for me. That was my favorite experience this year by a little bit. All right, what about you?
I think like the ones that stand out to me when I think back, and again, like I really loved all the episodes we did. It's hard to pick one that, is my favorite, but like the favorite moments I have are always it doesn't always happen, but I think most of the time there's at least some moment in an interview where it like transitions from feeling like an interview to feeling like a conversation. And so like the ones where that happens a lot tend to stand out to me as the most. I think like our interview with Maggie, I felt like that a lot. Our interview with Ed, I felt like that a lot. One we just did previously, it's going to be the first episode of 2021, felt like that. But the one I came back to was the one with Ed, because we talked to him for, like, the episode itself wasn't 2 hours, but the actual conversation was over 2 hours.
Yeah.
And it just like, you know, in this year of not being able to hang out with rum people in person, it really just felt like that, you know, just hanging out with someone talking about rum. He was really generous with his time. He threatened to strangle us. It had everything you want. It was great. So that's what I picked.
Yeah, he's just so genuine too. His love for rum is so apparent. You know,
Yeah.
some people it may be a business, but some people just really have an appreciation for all things related to rum like we do. And obviously Ed is one of those people, along with many of the others we talked to. But yeah, it was great. All right, last and not least, one thing we're looking forward to for 2021. Will, you want to go for it?
Yeah, so my next thing, I already teased it a little bit, but it's the next episode. I actually remember in the rapid fire for Richard Seal, when you said, what's your favorite ECS release? He said the next one. That's how I feel about our podcast. My favorite episode is the next one. I am really excited about the next episode because it gets into a theme, a type of interview that I want us to do more of next year. So I don't want to spoil too much about it, but I really want to do more interviews with people who are like in the distilleries, actively involved in production and things like that. And some of those people you don't hear as much from.
Yeah.
Getting them, you know, in front of a microphone and talking to them. So this to me is one of those episodes. It's with someone I was just really excited to talk to, and I hope people enjoy it as much as we did.
I agree. It's going to be a good one. I'm looking forward to it too.
What about you?
I would say for me, it's a little bit larger in scope. I would just say in-person interaction and more discussion with rum geeks like us. In 2021, whether it's, you know, if rum festivals are able to happen or if it's just hanging out in person with some good rum friends here when it's safe to do again. I can't wait for that. I'm hoping to attend some things and, you know, hear in person from some people who may listen to this podcast, and I want to hear how they view us, what they want more of, what they're looking for. I think, you know, we've been fortunate. We've gotten a little more feedback via email and social media lately, but I think conversations in person have a different quality to them, and I'm truly hoping to meet more people in person in 2021 when it's safe to do so, and hear, you know, hey, love this, would love to hear more about this, or have you thought about doing this with this person? That I'm just hoping we get to do more of in 2021. So just connecting with rum fans and continuing to do what we're doing, Will. I have a great time doing it. We mentioned it at the outset that I'm looking really forward to 2021 and what we're able to keep going with.
Same here. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, as John said, we love hearing from listeners. You can always email us at host@rumcast.com, host@rumcast.com. John and I will both see those. So yeah, any feedback you have, any people you'd love to hear from on the podcast, any just topics, whatever, send it to us. We'll do our best to make it happen. And I'm excited about next year. I have a hunch that it will be better than 2020, hopefully.
Same.
But, you know, one thing's for sure, there will be more rum, which is always a good thing.
And more Rumcast.
More Rumcast.
We'll see you in 2021.
All right, yeah. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.